We are launching a new weekly segment here on the show about crypto. Every week, we'll bring on our crypto reporter, Yueqi Yang, to talk about what the hottest topics are in the crypto world and what her analysis is of the biggest stories of the day. Over the past week, Kalshi has been one of the central points of attention with its $1 billion funding round at an $11 billion valuation. That is more than twice the valuation that it fetched in October. And I want to bring on Yueqi to help us break this all down. Yueqi, it's great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Akash.
So for our first segment, the weekly crypto segment, we are going to talk about prediction markets. Can you help me understand, why, before we get to the news, why is there such a connection between prediction markets and the crypto world? I know that we're talking about betting here essentially at the end of the day. And I know that Brian Armstrong likes to talk all about these prediction markets on his earnings calls. But, is the underlying technology here for prediction markets, is that built on blockchain at all? Or is it really just the same crowds that are sort of overlapping?
That's a great question. I think there's a significant overlap in terms of the kind of users who are betting on crypto exchanges and the ones who are using prediction markets. And we also know that some of the investors that founded the biggest two prediction markets, which are Polymarket and Kalshi, also include a lot of crypto investors. Paradigm, for example, is a major crypto venture fund, and they founded Kalshi. Andreessen is also very big in making crypto investments, and they are also investing in prediction markets. So just from the early adopters from user base and also from investor base, there's significant overlap.
It is kind of funny to me, though, because, blockchain, the advent of cryptocurrency, it was meant to give people this other financial system that really modernizes, a lot of the infrastructure that people said was old. It's outdated, right? And that was sort of the promise of blockchain altogether. I don't know. I look at prediction markets and I sort of feel like, it's just a product that makes a ton of money and it's kind of fun. Like, it seems very separate from the promise of cryptocurrency and blockchain altogether.
I would highlight that for Polymarket, they do use blockchain to settle trades.
Okay.
So people who are betting on Polymarket, they will pay for their bets using stable coins, specifically USDC. And when the event has an outcome, the trade is settled on the blockchain. So there is
okay. So there actually is a component there.
Right.
Okay,
But not every prediction market has to use blockchain. Kalshi, for example, in the US, does not use blockchain. You use a traditional clearinghouse system, and so blockchain is not necessarily a must-have. So I think, which is why the user base and the investor base is more relevant.
So that brings us to the valuation that they just got, $11 billion. It's up more than twofold from October. Talk to us a little bit about what people in your orbit think of this valuation. Do they think that it could get even higher, or is it something that people say this is pretty rich?
Yeah, so I think it's really a sign of intensifying competition between the two biggest providers, Kalshi and Polymarket. We know that Polymarket recently announced that they raised funding from the New York Stock Exchange's parent company at an $8 billion valuation. And that was obviously a big number when they were announced that in October. And then Kalshi quickly kind of followed with another funding round that lifted their valuation to $11 billion, which would be higher than the valuation that Polymarket recently got. So the two platforms are really competing for both investor capital, for users, for partners. And this is especially important now that Polymarket is launching in the US and getting into the home turf of Kalshi.
Right. Let me ask you this: prediction markets? It feels to me like, you could bet on anything, really. That's kind of the beauty of it. In some ways, the market size is so large, and it's almost easier to understand than cryptocurrencies because why should I have to become familiar with all these different cryptocurrencies and digital assets when I can understand very clearly what betting on the election, for example, means? And by I mean customers, to be clear. I've never used these platforms. But I guess my question is the thought amongst people that these prediction markets could get even bigger than crypto exchanges, given how easy they are to understand and how, applicable they could be to different markets?
Yeah. So right now, prediction market volumes are much smaller than crypto markets volume. So they're not as comparable to crypto market trading yet. But then for people who are building prediction markets, investors, I think their longer term vision is that prediction markets is going to be a new asset class and it's
Right.
going to be able to disrupt traditional forms of trading. For example, as you mentioned, people bet on elections. Traditionally, ahead of big presidential elections, if you are investors, you might express your view by betting on whether the stock market will go up or down based on who gets elected. But now you can go on prediction markets and bet on just who will become the
Hmm.
president, and that's a more cleaner expression of your view. And that's what the advantage that prediction market operators are pitching.
But is there anyone that says that, oh, this could be even bigger than crypto exchanges?
Well, I think if you talk to the founders of these
Yeah,
prediction
yeah,
markets, they
no,
have pretty
right,
high hope, and I think
right, right,
I don't even think they're comparing themselves with crypto market size. I think they're really aiming for traditional financial markets.
right, right. Um, let me ask you this, just give us a sense for, do we know how much revenue Kalshi is generating and Polymarket as well, how big these companies are there? And
Yeah, so Polymarket doesn't currently generate meaningful revenue because it doesn't charge fee yet. Um, And Kalshi does generate revenue, and my colleague has reported that their annualized revenue pace is increasing very fast in the hundreds of millions of dollars
hmm,
recently, as they shared privately with investors. So we'll see. And we also know that for Kalshi, in the future, in the long term, they will have IPO plan, even though we don't know the specific timeline for that yet.
right. It's kind of funny because, on one hand, we have in the AI world, we have OpenAI and Anthropic kind of duking it out, right? They were the startups, they're fast growing. You have Kalshi and Polymarket, they're very much duking it out. But then you kind of, in the same sense, in the AI world, you have the hyperscaler companies like Google. They also are very much now competitive. I'm sort of thinking in my head, okay, so you have the startups duking out against each other. Could there be a larger company that suddenly decides to get? We know that Coinbase is also, although Coinbase is they're using one of these platforms in their prediction markets offering, right?
Yeah, I think you make a great point, and this is exactly the similar dynamic that we're seeing right now in this prediction market space. The bigger brokerages and bigger crypto companies are launching their own prediction markets, and they could be competing with Polymarket and Kalshi in the future. And I think the thinking from Polymarket and Kalshi right now is they want to partner up with these bigger guys coming to the market, and they
Right.
can potentially share revenue with them and aggregate liquidity across different platforms.
Yeah.
But we also know that some of these companies will want to retain greater control over their products. Robinhood, for example, recently announced that they are going to launch their own prediction market exchange. And so far, they already have a prediction market product out there that is powered by Kalshi. But then, in addition to the partnership, they also want to build something on their own. And I think that's a sign that we will observe more with other players coming into the market.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. I hope we get to talk more about this market, and I think we will because I think this is just the start of news. And so I'm so excited to have you on weekly. That is Yueqi Yang for the first of many weekly crypto segments here on TITV.